On today's episode of Time About the Movie, Sam Raimi returns to the franchise that made him the star that he is today with a new rebooted version of the classic film The Evil Dead. We also have Jurassic Park coming out in 3D. We also have a couple of little indie films, The Company You Keep, and Danny Boyle's latest film, Trance. It's April 2013. We have the first weekend of the month, and April 5th, 2013. This is, of course, Time About the Movies.
There was something in the woods.
Everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. I don't know if you've noticed this, but everything's been getting worse. Every second. If we don't do something, we're all gonna be dead!
We're gonna get you.
Does that sound fine? Rated R.
It's funny, because I was trying to look for that specific trailer that I just showed you, with the thing in the beginning where Jane Levy's just like, don't skip it, don't skip it, don't skip it. And I saw that on there. I didn't even know that trailer I clicked on was actually it. But yeah, that was a really odd way to start that thing. I mean, that was something that used to be in front of, like, videos on YouTube when you were watching it and you have ads come up, and the thing tells you, don't skip this ad and all that, and then most of us skipped the ad anyway, because we knew that nothing was going to happen. But let's just say that, yeah, if Jane Levy was going to tell you to not skip a video like that, yeah, you'd be scared out of your mind, too, because, yeah, she is pretty, she's pretty terrifying in this. I will give it that. But welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 4 films that make up April 5th, 2013. And we start off, of course, with The Evil Dead, the 4th installment of the Evil Dead franchise, and essentially a reboot of the original franchise in general here, because it's pretty much the same concept as the original Evil Dead, except with, much younger, is the younger actors of today. It follows the similar setup to The Evil Dead. You follow a group of 5 people who are under attack by dead people in a remote cabin in the woods. And one of them is Jane Levy, the other is Shiloh Fernandez, Lou Taylor Pucci, Jessica Lucas, and Elizabeth Blackmore. The big thing with this one here is that the first Evil Dead movie, it's very much in the same line as the first Evil Dead movie, pretty much. I mean, the other movies in the Evil Dead series, Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, would be more on the comedic, would add more comedy in there. And while there's a couple of times in here where there is some fun comedy in here, it's pretty much an effective, a genuine scary movie in general here. And it works mostly because of that. It's a movie that I thought it was most people's introduction to this new generation's introduction to the Evil Dead overall. But I mean, I'd already seen the other Evil Dead. I'd seen Army of Darkness before this, but I never saw Evil Dead's 1 and 2 until it came out on 4K in around 2020. That's how long it took me to actually get to those movies. But this is a really good film, and it works because it does a good job of introducing a new generation to the world of the Evil Dead movies in general here. And it's a good way to start off with this movie here, where you don't have the comedic aspects of the sequels, like Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness, but it delivers what the original one meant to a lot of people, 32 years ago, and it helps if you have a really good director in Fede Alvarez, who of course would later go on to direct stuff like the Don't Breathe movies, and more recently, Alien Romulus, and it shows what he can do as a director with this case, and also helps that you have people like Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell among the producers in here, to give you kind of an idea of how to do this for a new generation, and I think it did a pretty good job at it. But the real star of the movie is Jane Levy. I was talking about in Fun Size, they needed to give her better scripts to work with, because, man, movies like Fun Size and then later on with Monster Trucks really took down a lot of the good stuff that she brought as a leading actress and things. I mean, she's great on Shameless. She's great on Suburgatory. She kills it in this movie as Mia. I mean, she is so damn good in this movie. Like, she's the thing that you will remember once seeing this movie. And it's a shame, because as soon as she went to this, she went back to starring in crappy stuff again with the aforementioned Monster Trucks. But then again, she did stuff like Don't Breathe, and then also she was just in the she was in the recent Toxic Avenger reboot, and then she's done stuff like Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. So I'll say that I guess I should say that her career hasn't really fallen apart that much, but it does feel like that she kind of fell off the face of the earth once Evil Dead came out, because you never really heard from her much after this. But she's been doing stuff since then. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it with it, but you see this, it's just like, man, this woman is really, really damn good. I mean, she can be funny, but she can also scare the living bejesus out of you, especially with the way that she's playing this character who's stuck inside the cellar all throughout the course of the movie. It's just like, it's just so well done, man. And, you know, it ties itself back into the other Evil Dead movies, too, with that cameo by Ash at the end of the movie, making people think that, hey, maybe there's going to be a sequel where he shows up in it. And there was going to be a sequel with him in it, but they eventually decided instead to do Ash vs. the Evil Dead as the Star series, and then they did eventually do another Evil Dead movie, Evil Dead Rise, about 10 years later, which was a phenomenal movie. I can't recommend that one enough. If you haven't seen that one already, seek out Evil Dead Rise. This one overall, it's a fun movie overall. It's the weakest, in quotation marks, of the series, but these movies overall are a ton of fun, regardless of if you're looking for a good comedy, if you're looking for a good horror movie. You find it all in these movies here. This one is definitely the lesser of the films, but that does not take away from the enjoyment factor of it at all. I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. Evil Dead, this was my introduction to the series. That's honestly all I got to say about Evil Dead. It is fun for what it is. Definitely the lesser of the films in general, but still fun all across the board, so take that for what you will. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is a classic movie getting re-released in theaters for the first time in 3D. I wasn't even going to do that, but my hands were up in the air like that. But Jurassic Park 3D.
Dinosaurs and man. How can we have the slightest idea of what to expect?
Must go faster.
Jurassic Park 3D, rated PG-13, only in theaters for a limited time, April 5th.
So this was basically kind of one of the last, if not the last big digital 3D re-release of a classic movie. That trend that began with The Lion King 2 years ago kind of faded out of obscurity pretty quickly. But, hey, it was a good time. You wanted to see some classic movies on the big screen for the first time, and I certainly took advantage of that with Jurassic Park. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a chance to see that on the big screen once in your lifetime? It's like seeing Close Encounters and Jaws or Ghostbusters on the big screen. I took advantage of all those times, and yeah, I was there for this, but there's also kind of another thing I think they were trying to go for here, because they had announced around this time that they were talking about plans for a new Jurassic Park movie, and I got the feeling that maybe, just maybe, they were looking at putting this back in theaters to see if there really was a demand there for a new Jurassic Park movie, and sure enough, the film did good enough business overall to convince Universal that, yeah, now's the time to go ahead and do a new Jurassic Park movie. Thus, we got Jurassic World 2 years later. We'll touch on that in about 2 years' time, but if you need to know the story about this, then clearly I'd like to welcome you out of that rock you've been living under for the past 30-plus years. I mean, hey, it's been wonderful. You know, you missed out on some stuff that we'd like to forget about. You're going to see some stuff now that you're going to probably want to forget about. But the film is set on a fictional island of Isla Nubla near Costa Rica, where wealthy businessman John Hammond, played by Richard Attenborough, and a team of genetic scientists have created a wildlife park of extinct dinosaurs. When industry sabotage leads to a catastrophic shutdown of the park's power facilities and security precautions, a small group of visitors struggle to survive and escape the now perilous island with all these dinosaurs on the run. And I pretty much have talked about this movie to death many, many times in the past. And like I said, the only real new thing I could bring up with it was the fact that Universal was looking at this to see if there was a demand for a new Jurassic Park movie, which there was indeed, and thus, as we mentioned before, Jurassic World would come out 2 years later. And honestly, I think I gave you some bum information, because technically this movie had been in development since Jurassic Park 3 had come out in 2001, but it had been something that kind of died down in the last couple of years. But then in January of that year, that's when Universal said, we finally have enough resources to put this out, that we're going to do a new film. And I still like to believe they put this out in theaters on that same weekend, not only for the 30th anniversary, but not only have it in 3D, but also just to see if there was a demand for it. So technically I was right about it, but I was also kind of misconstruing you on some things. But not much more really to say about this one. Jurassic Park is a classic movie. I've liked a lot of these movies in general, with the exception of the most recent one, Jurassic World Rebirth, which I think is the one that finally has killed me of this franchise. Hey, it only took them 7 movies to do it, and that one, Jurassic World Rebirth, was pretty bad, so there you go. That's my thoughts on Jurassic Park in 3D. Not much more to say about it, but hey, it was cool to see it on the big screen once in your life, so With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some indie releases that came out this weekend, starting with the first one we have here, The Company You Keep.
FBI was in my apartment. They're pissed because I'm doing a job that they own.
I have to do a lot of damage to a lot of people, but no idea how much.
Did you kill that man?
Of course not.
I don't think he's running away. I think he's trying to clear his name.
Well, I hope you saw all those names, because I completely forgot who was in this movie except for Robert Redford. And he also directed this movie, too. I think this might have been actually his last movie he directed, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, it's the last film he directed before he unfortunately passed away this past week. Was, I think, 2 months ago, I think. September, right? Yeah, September he passed away at the age of 89 years old. This was one of his last notable films that he did as a director. He would, of course, be seen later on in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and that was probably his last overall great appearance overall. But in this movie, based off the novel by Neil Gordon, it centers around a recently widowed and single father named Jim Grant, who's played by Robert Redford, who is a former Weather Underground anti-Vietnam War militant warrant for a bank robbery and murder. Grant has been hiding from the FBI for over 30 years as an attorney in Albany, New York, and he becomes a fugitive when his true identity is exposed by Ben Shepherd, played by Shia LaBeouf. Grant must find his ex-lover Mimi, played by Julie Christie, the one person who can clear his name before the FBI catches him. Otherwise, he will lose everything, including his 11-year-old daughter, Isabel. While Ben struggles with ethical issues as a journalist, Jim and his other old friends from the Weather Underground must live with the consequences of their radical past. And this also is a cast that includes Susan Sarandon. His daughter is played by Jackie Evancho from America's Got Talent. Brendan Gleeson, Britt Marling, Anna Kendrick, Terrence Howard, Richard Jenkins, Nick Nolte, Chris Cooper, Sam Elliott, Stephen Root, Stanley Tucci. So strong cast in this movie overall, and yet I bet half of you don't even know what this movie is, because I can certainly tell you I completely had no idea what this movie was or why I never heard of it before, and that's probably not a good sign overall going for it. And sadly, seeing the movie, I can kind of see why it's been largely forgotten, because it's kind of a bore. It's the definition of a slow burn movie that, unlike a good slow burn movie, doesn't heat up when the pressure gets on here. It just keeps going and going and going. It's just like, come on, get to the point already. Like, what am I supposed to take away from this movie? And sadly, it's just not there with this film in general here. Robert Redford's made a lot of good stuff in the past, but this is one of those ones where I feel like his old man days are just kind of getting to him at this point, and it really did feel like that he had nothing left as a director, and this film really slogs on for way too long. It's a movie that's not even... It's barely over 2 hours long, but it feels like an eternity watching it. It just feels like a film that just keeps going and going and going. It just never gets anywhere in terms of a good story, in terms of anything engaging overall. The performances overall are fine, I guess. I think the best ones overall are from Julie Christie and Robert Redford and Shia LaBeouf overall. But other than that, though, there's just nothing about this movie that really makes it stand out in general, sadly, so... Yeah, unfortunately, that's a skip on The Company You Keep. But hey, at least Robert Redford will at least have some more good films with him, with the Captain America, Winter Soldier, and also Avengers Endgame. Yeah, Endgame's the one he has a cameo in. But you get the idea. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here, Danny Boyle's latest film, and that is Trance.
Academy Award-winning director Danny Boyle delivers a super stylish modern noir. Where is the painting?
I can't remember. I got hit on the head.
Close your eyes.
Trance is a twisty, terrific, deliriously entertaining thriller.
The plan was simple. You hypnotize the guy, you bring me back the painting. Was I hypnotized?
Trance, rated R, in theaters April 5th.
Oh, and believe me, this is a movie that you'll remember mostly because that scene at the end there was of Rosario Dawson walking out straight up full frontal nudity, and yeah, it's let's just say that that's definitely worth the price of admission if you have the internet. In terms of the movie itself, though, this is one of Danny Boyle's major misfires overall as a filmmaker. He's made a lot of good movies. We don't usually talk smack about him, but this might be one of his more boring films in general here. So when a fine art auctioneer, played by James McAvoy, mixes up with a gang, join forces with a hypnotherapist to recover a lost painting. As boundaries between desire, reality, and hypnotic suggestion begin to blur, the stakes rise faster than anyone could have anticipated. You see James McAvoy in there, as I said. Vincent Cassel is also in here, Rosario Dawson. But other than that, though, this is kind of a lame movie, man. This is a movie where we had Side Effects earlier in the year, and that's a movie that I think does a similar storyline to this much better. This one just feels like it's Danny Boyle being a little bit more artsy than it usually is, and this time around it kind of falters on him big time here. It's a movie where you just don't really get the sense that his heart and soul was in this one in general here. It's a one that kind of comes and goes. The mystery overall really isn't that engaging overall. And the one thing you really take away from the movie is that scene where Rosario Dawson is full frontal nude in your face, and that's about it. But then again, that's why we have the internet. The internet is a wonderful thing because you can look online there for free and not have to watch a movie like this. And sadly, I would say that about this film because I do say sadly because Danny Boyle hardly ever misfires, and this is definitely one of those ones that was a major misfire for him, unfortunately. It's a movie that feels, and I think it doesn't help that he doesn't write the script for this movie. I think that if he wrote the script for this, I think it probably would have been a little bit better, but it's not written by him. It's written by, who are the guys' names here? Joe Ahiran, who, well, that's not a good sign. One of the movies he wrote was Ultraviolet, that piece of garbage, but he wrote for Doctor Who. And then John Hodge, who wrote Trainspotting, and he's actually one of the writers that worked with Danny Boyle on Trainspotting. He's actually worked on a lot of his movies: Trainspotting, A Life Less Ordinary, The Beach. You know, he's a solid writer overall. So maybe it isn't really the writer's fault in general here. Maybe it's just not a good idea overall. But if I have to say the one thing about the movie is somebody getting butt-ass naked, is front-ass naked in front of you, and you can go and watch that online, that's not a really good sign for this movie in general, unfortunately. So yeah, it's a hard skip on Trance, unfortunately. So yeah, a rare Danny Boyle misfire, to say the least. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we take a look at the Jackie Robinson biopic 42, which introduced the Lorber people, including myself, to Chadwick Boseman, who stars in one of his many great performances of his short but great career. Also starring Harrison Ford along with Boseman. But then we also have the 5th installment of the Scary Movie series. Not made by the Wayans brothers, nor is it made by the Zucker brothers, so yeah, we're not going to be in for a good movie, unfortunately, this time around. So we'll take a look at those two movies. That'll be coming up tomorrow on the show, so stay tuned for that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist. Don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.